I've noticed there's a lot of videos on YouTube of Jeffrey Dahmer lately, and yeah, he was someone I heard about as a kid. That all I knew about them was the basics. That he, you know, he ate people. He tried to create some kind of zombie by drilling people in the head, and he was killed in prison. And for years, that's all I knew about him. Later on, I did watch documentaries about him, and learned a lot more that way. But lately, they're because of this Netflix show, there's been a lot more interest, and I've noticed all kinds of people talking about him on YouTube. But I used to watch documentaries about him years ago, and I don't know why I don't have a fascination with most serial killers, but him I was somewhat fascinated with. I think it was just because his crimes were so weird, and there's just something about him that was kind of different from most of them. Like his were sicker, but at the same time he didn't act like crazy, and when you see him in interviews, he just seems so like unthreatening. You know, I've seen other killers that come off like they would probably be dangerous, even though they're obviously not acting that way in the interviews. But there's just something kind of odd about Jeffrey Dahmer. He's just so, like I said, non-threatening, and he almost came off like, well, he did come off regretful about his crimes, which is strange because they were so sick that it's hard to imagine. If he was capable of all that in the first place, why would he be regretful? But I don't know. But yeah, I had this kind of interest in him years ago, so it's funny now to see all these people talking about it on YouTube. And there's new documentaries and that new Netflix show, which I've seen, and it seems to be the most accurate. Well, it's the one that tells most of the story, but it still changes certain things, which is disappointing. But I've seen other versions where they don't go into most of it. Like there was one with Jeremy Renner from years ago that didn't really go into everything, and there was one recently called My Friend Dahmer, I think it was called, which just kind of ended when he was about to kill his first victim. So it's really just about his teenage years. Wasn't really focused on his later crimes or anything. So I guess in comparison to that, the Netflix show is the best one, but it still makes a few changes that I thought were a bit weird. That they didn't really need to do. But yeah, that's just wanted to talk about my thoughts on Jeffrey Dahmer, and yeah, it's like every day I check YouTube, there's always a couple of new videos about him. So it seems like everybody's talking about him now. Which is interesting, but they do go over a lot of the same information, because there's not really much else you can say at this point. But still, it's interesting to find all these videos. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Jeffrey Dahmer, and yeah, maybe I'll do another video about another serial killer sometime.